Hello everyone, I'm Elena Sekulovska. I'm joined by Maria Anevska and I'm part of the Australia team of the United Macedonian Diaspora's Young Leaders Program Generation M. Welcome to our fourth UMD Generation M virtual hours with Mario Christovski of the growingly popular YouTube series Mario's History Talks on the very important topic of Wikipedia warriors, the new front lines in the Battle of Macedonia. Thank you to those of you attending and to all of our Facebook watchers. Many of you may have noticed that almost every Wikipedia page out there on Macedonia and the Macedonians has been edited to reflect Bulgarian and Greek viewpoints. Even UMD's own Wikipedia page was recently deleted by someone, and we now have to start from scratch. Mario will take us through step by step on what we can all do to combat this anti-Macedonian revision of our culture, identity, and history. Please feel free to take on social media with the hashtag Mario's History Talks and at UMD Diaspora and at GenM Macedonia to share about tonight's event. Everyone has been muted, and if you have any questions, please write them in the chat and Mario will try to answer as many as possible. With that, thank you, and we turn it over to Mario.
Great to see so many returning faces here. We've gotten to know each other over these past couple of days. Might as well, we are all in quarantine after all. And if there's any new faces here, I do want to welcome you. I'm very honored you chose to spend your evening with me tonight. And arguably, this is probably the coup de grace. This is the pinnacle of what I want to talk about today. As you know, the title is Wikipedia Warriors, but we're not going to just focus on Wikipedia. Like doctors, we're going to take a look at a lot of the symptoms and the categories of the plague that is upon the Macedonian people online. We're going to take a look at some steps, we're going to look at some strategies that are used against us. And after all this, you'll have known a good plethora of resources available to you. You'll have had a good resource for interpreting our history through some of our talks, a good lens from which to do it. And now it's going to be the so what. So what, Mario? Why did I spend hours with you learning about history? What are we going to do with it now? Glad you asked. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So let's get started. And while we are talking, I do encourage you to answer any questions that I have for you, especially in the chat. I do want this to be interactive. More so than that, this is going to be also a group brainstorm session. We're going to be coming up with some ideas and strategies together, hopefully after we kind of discover what the situation is, who the actors are, and how we can move forward. So let's get started. As Elena did very poignantly state in her introduction, any Wikipedia page that speaks about Macedonia has a very noticeable bias against us. So what I want right now, I want somebody in the chat to give me any topic on Macedonia. It could be a city, it could be a person. Let's just keep it before 1944. Anybody that is top of mind. It could be Goce Dolcev, Nikola Karev, anybody you want. Put it in the chat and we're gonna take a look at that Wikipedia page together. So take some time, and like I said, it could be your village, it could be anything. We're gonna do some examples here. So go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll wait. Let's do Vasil Chikladov there. So what I'm gonna do now, I am gonna share my screen with you, and we're gonna see exactly what I see, eye to eye, apples to apples. If you don't know who he is, I highly encourage you to check it out. I do have a video on him. He's one of my favorite heroes. So let's just look at this really quickly. Was Vasil Chikladov, born Ottoman Empire, was a Bulgarian revolutionary, one of the leaders of the internal Macedonian Adrianople Revolutionary Organization in Macedonia. H.M. Brailsford described Chikladov as the cruel but competent generals of the Bulgarian insurgents in Macedonia. Now notice, Brailsford didn't actually call him of the Bulgarian insurgents. That's a later addition here, but let's keep going. Despite his Bulgarian self-identification, per post-World War II Macedonian historiography, he was an ethnic Macedonian. So here we go. First of all, for the ancient people, see ancient Macedonians. Now what's interesting about that, no other page has that distinction. For the Greeks, ancient Greeks on the same page. For the Bulgarians, Thracians on the same page. For us, a little bit different. But we go over there and we can not only see that first of all, but historical overview, I mean, it's going to be clear that we majority refer to ourselves as Bulgarians. I mean, it's very clearly there. Not much to it, not much there. So that's kind of the crux of, let me just stop sharing this, of what most pages are like on Wikipedia. So here's, let's get into the details of it. Let's take a look at any page on Macedonia once again. Let's just take a look at, I don't know, we'll go with the same page here. So let me just share it again. And I just want to show you something that you definitely need to understand about what is happening here. Okay, so this is Macedonian's ethnic group. We're going into the search history. And when you're here, you're going to see a name that does pop up a lot. Jingibi, 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 Jingibi. That's actually Turkish for a little demon, but we're getting into who he is. Let's go to somewhere else here. Vasu Chikaladov, Jingibi, 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 Jingibi. He actually just made an edit on the 27th. Let's go to this geography of North Macedonia. We'll go into this page again in just a bit here. One moment here. Let's see who we have. Oh, Jingibi, 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 Jingibi. So it sounds like I'm saying gibberish. I'm not. We're going to get into who he is and exactly what he's doing here. So basically, Jingibi is a Wikipedia editor. And as a Wikipedia editor, he is obviously of a Bulgarian affiliation. And we did a little bit digging on him. I actually did a whole video on him, and I did kind of start spreading who he is, what he's doing, and exactly what his tactics are. So let's jump into what Jingibi is and kind of what he represents. So first of all, Jingibi is undoubtedly Bulgarian. He's a Bulgarian Wikipedia editor. And since around 2006, this man, and I ran the numbers through some analytics, this man since 2006 has made 10 to 15 edits every single day of his life. Christmas, New Year's, Easter, every single day of his life, he is making edits. Now, I'll tell you exactly what kind of edits and why they're so nefarious. But do the math, 10 to 15 on a low side, that's 50,000 edits. On a high side, that is 76,000 edits on Wikipedia per day on Macedonian topics. And what does he do? Well, basically, this is how Wikipedia works. Wikipedia has something called the rule of consensus. Thereby, if there's a consensus of editors or administrators that where 5 of them say one thing and 4 of them say another thing, those 5 will overrule those 4 and they'll revert any changes. So Jingibi has a strategy, basically, to where any change to Wikipedia, slight changes, any changes about Macedonia or about Bulgaria, he immediately reverts back to the original status quo. He's able to do this because he has about 4 to 5 other administrators, other editors that work with him. This is what he does. You make a change within minutes. He messages you, tells you to revert the change because you're involved in what he calls an edit war. Any single change, he'll accuse you of being called in an edit war, and he changes it back to his previous edit. And with that, he basically uses Bulgarian sources, Bulgarian websites, and all Bulgarian-friendly resources out there to solidify his claims. And because he has the consensus of the editors, he's able to do this. You try to go again, you try to edit, you have valid resources. He calls you a vandal if you go the second time. You go the third time, guess what? Game over. You're banned. You are banned from Wikipedia. And I've talked to historians that have done their hardest work to try to amend this, to try to put honest to goodness, non-Macedonian, neutral resources on Wikipedia. He calls you a vandal, immediately reverts them back. In fact, one of my friends in Australia, he runs a Twitter account. He's a very good historian. He actually got into it with Jingibi. And Jingibi tried figuring out where he was, tried threatening him, telling him that, hey, are you Australian? Like, who are you? What do you want? Tried threatening him to basically get him to stop working on Wikipedia and letting his reign go free. So let's take a look at the level of dedication from Jingibi here really quickly again. And we'll talk about some of the changes that he makes. This is Jingibi live. This is what he's editing currently. April 29th, right now, what he's editing. Bulgarian-Hungarian Wars, Byzantine-Bulgarian Wars, invasion of Yugoslavia, boatmen of Thessaloniki. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. Who actually watched the movie that I recommended in my first history talk? Anybody? Put it in the chat. I'm very curious. Who actually took time to watch the movie Solunskite Tentatori, the boatmen of Thessalonica. Well, you should have, because the anniversary of their attacks was yesterday. Yesterday was the day the assassins from Salonika began their 3-day attack on the city in a desperate bid to liberate Macedonia. Now, I'm not going to hold you to it, but I do recommend you watch it. As you can see here, on the dot, minute by minute, second by second, Gingibi went to edit that page because he knew it would be a natural hotspot for Macedonian history talk and wanting to revert it. So here, let's just take a look. Bowmen of Thessalonica, invasion of Yugoslavia, Mother Teresa, Khrushchev Republic, Yanaki and Milton Manaki. And so if this man calls them Bulgarians, I will go to war. As another Vlav, the Manaki brothers are nothing but Vlavs, and I will take offense to that. Macedonia, Greece, Slavic speakers in Ottoman Macedonia. That's a page. They don't refer to us as Macedonians, Slavic speakers of Ottoman Macedonia. So this is him every single day of his life, minute by minute, second by second. So we got to ask ourselves, folks, how does he do this? Well, there's a number of theories, and he's pretty well known, actually. But basically, possibility is he is getting paid to do this. We're going to get into how that's possible, but very possibly he is getting paid to do this. I do have a resource that is basically speculated based on some research out there. He is being paid by the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences, those wonderful people that continue to deny us as a nation, to have a presence on Wikipedia as a pro-Bulgarian stance. In fact, let's just take a look at some of the stuff he has said about himself, because I'm not going to accuse somebody as a Macedonian of things that they're not able to, justify nor defend themselves. So let's just take a look at some of the stuff that Gingibi has said about himself. First of all, this is from a blog post I found. This is Gingibi. He calls himself anti-firumizator. Now, for those of us that don't speak Bulgarian, sounds like pretty much as you hear it. The anti-Furumizer. He's anti-Furum. And what he said here, obviously, I do not speak Bulgarian, but in English, everything is being uploaded to Bulgarian Wikipedia immediately and slowly and methodically in English where it meets some obstructions. So what is he doing? Gingibi is slowly transferring, in a way that's not noticed, all the Bulgarian Wikipedia pages to English Wikipedia pages, slowly, methodically, and carefully. He's dedicated his whole life to this. He's been doing this since 2006. This wasn't a problem in 2006. Wikipedia was actually somewhat neutral, but this is the level of dedication that he has. He is transferring Bulgarian Wikipedia to English Wikipedia. So with everything against Gingibi, you might think he is a natural hero of the Bulgarians. I mean, there's probably monuments of him. There's probably, school children singing songs to him. I mean, he's a cheerleader for the Bulgarian cause in Macedonia. Not the case. Luck would have it, Gingibi is almost universally despised by the Bulgarians. Why would this be? Well, as much of a cheerleader he is on the Bulgarian origins of Macedonia, he also is an ardent supporter of the Turkic origin, the Mongol Turkic origin of the modern day Bulgarian people, which, if you've ever spoken to a Bulgarian, is a very sensitive topic. Being in the European Union, they don't like admitting they're anything but Europeans. But as history knows and confirms, they do have Turkic and Mongol admixture. And Gingibi does, of course, recognize this fact. So he does maintain the Bulgarian position that they do have ancestral Turkic roots. And this makes a lot of Bulgarians very, very upset. In fact, here is an article about him that I found. Again, I do not read Bulgarian, but basically they called him a Bulgarian provocateur, and some Bulgarian tried to call the police department to have this man arrested because of how much damage and vandalism he is causing to the Bulgarian people. Kind of humorous, but he is universally despised almost. And in fact, with everything that he has been doing, a lot of Bulgarians accuse him of being a Macedonian. They call him a Macedonian Pomak. A Pomak is basically just a Slavic speaker that has converted to Islam. So on the other side, they're calling him a Macedonian Pomak. So very, very volatile situation with a lot of people being against this man. So that's a little bit about Gingibi. Now, let's just take a look really briefly at some of the damage that he's done to Wikipedia pages. We know, obviously, the UMD page has been shut down. We don't know the reasons behind it, but it has been shut down. But I do have some screenshots of it, actually. And back in the day, there were a number of editors that did accuse the United Macedonian Diaspora of being a Turkish lobbying firm in an attempt to, of course, discredit UMD. So there's always been a war against the Macedonian presence on Wikipedia, and this has not been anything new. This is something that just happened to where it got shut down. I don't hear you. The UMD, United Macedonian Diaspora page, got shut down on Wikipedia. No longer exists. So let me just show you some of the peculiarities of the Macedonian Wikipedia pages and ask yourself, does any other nation have these same problems? I'm going to hold you to that. All right, let's take a look. Hopefully it works. So first of all, there's an entire page called the historiography in North Macedonia. Basically our propaganda campaign against Bulgarians and against ourselves. Let's just take a look at it. You may get some blood boiling. You may want to punch your screen. I understand that. Don't try it. Let's just take a look. Oh boy. Denialist historiography. Ahistorical. Such an enhanced ethnocentric reading of history contributes to the distortion of the Macedonian national identity and degrades history as an academic discipline. Under such historiographies, generations of students were educated in pseudo-history. Beautiful. Let's take a look at some of the stuff here. It's got to be neutral and bad. Let's just take a look. So we have, just see if there's any bias here. One of the supposed constitutions of the original Vamara. We don't know if it's authentic. Even if it is, we know, per my previous talks, why these men chose to identify as Bulgarians, not simply as Macedonians. For the reasons most Macedonian historians reject its authenticity. Not quite the reason, there's other reasons beyond that, but they're basically saying this is something we are attempting to not talk about. Not true. Macedonian historians readily accept the fact that it may have been called a Bulgarian-Macedonian Adrianople organization. We're fine with that because it doesn't defer our identity as being Bulgarian. There's many reasons for that. Oh, here's my favorite. Bulgarian invasion in Vardar Banovina. Bulgarians were greeted as liberators. After the war, the communist historiography did a lot to equate the term Bulgarian with fascist occupier, as in it has to be in quotation marks because, these people that allied with Nazis and, deported 7,000 Jews, whether they were in fact fascist occupiers. This is actually one of the demands of the Bulgarian state for us to remove any references to them as fascist occupiers. Let's keep going. Bulgarian forces entering Skopje after the extension of the Germans. Macedonian sources claim no Bulgarian troops participated in the capture of the city, even as observers. So they're basically trying to say here that, look at us. We helped you liberate from the Germans. Look, that's us. That's Bulgarians. We were there with you. So as you can see, folks, this is, look at this. Denial by historians. Everything you can imagine. This is the case here. And what's interesting about our Wikipedia pages, our entire section about our ancient history has no reference to any people. Every other state has a page on its antiquity, on the people it descended from. Bulgaria has a whole Wikipedia page called Genetic Studies of the Bulgarian People, where they postulate that they're basically not just Turkic, they're a little bit Slavic, a little bit of Thracian, a little bit of Aryan, God knows what else. They have their own page. Do you know what we have? We have the history of the territory, as if there's no people there. And if there were people there, not related to us. No other nation in history is put to these standards. Even if we're mixed, we admit this. We are not allowed to speak our own history. We're being told the narrative and confined to it as well. So that's what's happening with Wikipedia right now. So not only is there an entire article about the pseudo-history of Macedonia, no page on the ancestors of the modern day Macedonians besides Slavs and Bulgarians, but this is something you can look for yourself. And this actually might make you feel a little bit terrible, but I like it because it's going to incite you to want to see change. Go look up your local village in Macedonia. Where are you from? Go look it up. You don't have to do it right now. I did it. I'm from Tsapari, among other places. Did you know that in accordance to length, the Wikipedia page on Tsapari in English, it's pretty short. It's a little village. It was 2,000 back in the day, but quite short. Macedonian page, a little bit longer. Bulgarian page, the longest out of all three of them. Not only is it longer, they ascribe all of the people there as Bulgarians. The Bulgarians even called Tsapari Malka Sofia, which I want to throw up just thinking about it, but I digress. The entire pages, every single page on Macedonian cities has a Bulgarian version that is actually, in most cases, longer than our version. This is something you have to understand about the Bulgarians. Bulgarians have viewed Macedonia as the cradle of their culture since the Middle Ages. It is an outright fanatical obsession with them. They're not going to let this slip out of their fingers if they can help it. So they're trying to control the narrative through the means of Wikipedia. So that's one of the problems that we do have right now with Wikipedia. Those three, we're going to get into a little bit more of how we go forward from here. So let's move on a little bit more now. So like I said, we're not going to just talk about Wikipedia, we're going to talk about other topics as well. One of the other topics I do want to talk about is basically what we call search engine optimization. Search engine optimization, for those of us not familiar with the internet, just like it sounds, it's basically a competition through marketing and search tactics on websites and content to see which pages are displayed up front on the first couple of pages on Google when you search. As anybody that's been through college knows, if you're going past page 3 on Google, you're pretty damn desperate. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Nobody goes past page 3 on Google. So if those first two pages are a Greek and Bulgarian narrative, that's it. That's what people are going to see. So what happened? Well, a couple of months ago, when you typed in ethnic Macedonians on Google, there was, of course, a Wikipedia link that showed up as one of the first results, but it didn't connect to us. Do you know what it connected to? It connected to the Wikipedia page on Greek Macedonians. The Macedonians, supposed Macedonians of Greece, the ones that, came from Turkey and are somehow related to Alexander the Great. That was the first search result. Our entire Wikipedia page got redirected to the Greek page because they understood SEO. Thankfully, that's no longer the case here, but that is nonetheless what has happened. So let's talk about something else now in terms of search engine optimization. One of the best sources, and I can speak to this having used it numerous times, one of the best sources for research online is a question answer community called Quora. That's Quora. Now, what's amazing about Quora is you get access to some of the most brilliant minds out there. Bill Gates is on Quora. Mark Cuban is on Quora. World-class athletes, investors, philosophers. I mean, you get access to the best of the best, and a lot of times they do answer a lot of your questions. And Quora was a very reputable source. In fact, it was so good, not a lot of people wanted to talk about it because it was such a valuable resource. What has happened to Quora recently? Well, as you can imagine, it did catch on. Because it caught on, of course, Greeks and Bulgarians needed to shift the narrative over to their side. What was once a reputable source has now become a garbage bin, a dumpster fire for Greek and Bulgarian propaganda. Now with Quora, you did need to have credentials to basically state your opinion. Do you know what their credentials are? Hey, I'm asking a question. Are the Macedonians Greek? Huh. Well, let me answer this. As a Greek, I can tell you they're not Greek. Those are their credentials. Here, I'll show you some pictures really quickly here. It was a very reputable source. And because it was reputable, of course, they have to attack it and drag it through the dirt. Go to Quora. Ask any question on Macedonia. There are English speakers. There are French speakers. There are Spanish speakers asking about Macedonia. And the first answers they get are from Greeks and Bulgarians, who think because they are Greeks and Bulgarians, they're, self-proclaimed experts on the issue. Why did the New York Times separate Macedonians and Greeks into different ethnic groups? It's a pretty valid question. Why did the New York Times separate Macedonians and Greeks? Almost like Macedonians and Greeks were never the same people. But let's see who answers. Dimitar Esperanto Berbuto, data philosopher and analytics of mathematics and sociology. Pretty reputable, pretty reputable. Are Macedonians and other Greeks ethnically different? Stavros Asimakopoulos, civil engineer in Greece. Hey, when I talk about ethnicity, I always go to my civil engineers. They are experts, cream of the crop. Can ordinary Macedonian and Greek people be friends amid current political turmoil? Thanasis Papadopoulos. Unfortunately for the Greek end, there's a big misconception. Oh, poor Greeks, they're misrepresented. Everybody's out to get them. Little Macedonia's out to get them. These are their credentials. You see what they're doing? These are their credentials. It's laughable. It is absolutely laughable. But they're consistent. they're fanatical, and they're dedicated. Let's move on to my domain, and the domain of many on here, Twitter. Now, for those of us that don't know what Twitter is basically, it's a blog. It's a blog where you can just tweet whatever pops into your mind instantly, and people are able to see it in real time. Sounds pretty useless sometimes, but it's been pretty helpful. We're just getting a lot of news stories out. Now, of course, since the growth of Twitter, it of course has been absconded and hijacked for the purposes of Greek, mostly Greek, but also Bulgarian propaganda. Now, the Bulgars are not as prevalent on Twitter, I have noticed. Really quickly, there's been such an increase in Greek and Bulgarian propaganda on Quora. Everyone should get an account and upvote on Quora. Thank you, Philip. I do agree with that, and we're going to go into some solutions at the end there, so I do appreciate you chiming in. So with Twitter, we do have more of a Greek presence. And anybody that's followed me, or anybody that's ever tweeted the word Macedonia, has this. CNN can tweet an article. This is hypothetical, of course. CNN tweets an article. Asteroid headed for the Earth will crash in Macedonia tomorrow. All of humanity will be extinct. No hope. Within 2 seconds, there's going to be 20 Greek Twitter accounts saying, Macedonia? You mean Skopje, right? No matter what the content is, there will always be a Greek replying to it. Always. Bet your bottom dollar. As sure as anything, death, taxes, there will always be a Greek replying on any Twitter post about Macedonia. There's actually one, I guess in a positive note, some of the mended relations, if you want to call it that, between Macedonia and Greece. There was, shortly after the ratification of the, P agreement, I'm not going to say the full name, there was a bus crash in Macedonia. And a Greek newspaper did rightfully call the people Macedonians and said North Macedonia. They got attacked by other Greeks for daring to call them Macedonia. It was a piece of mourning against the 20-something lives that were lost. Didn't stop a Greek. Won't stop a Greek. They still attacked it. So let's take a look at what happens on Twitter. So first of all, you have to understand this. Greeks know who you are. If you've ever tweeted about Macedonia ever, you are on their profile, you're on their radar, they know who you are. They've stalked you, they have you on lists, they know exactly when you tweet. Probably they have alerts when you tweet. And what's interesting, and I do kind of make fun of them about this, a lot of times, one time I tweeted about Christ, an icon of Christ, and I had it's called Christ Pantokrator, which means Christ, the ruler of everything. And I had a Greek reply to me, Pantokrator, it's a Greek word, right? How dare you steal our language? You could tweet about anything. It doesn't have to have the word Macedonia in it. You don't even have to connect the tweet to any Greeks. They will find it, and they will attack you because that's what they do. I oftentimes actually joke because I can tweet about anything. Greeks will attack me. I often joke about it, how they're basically, their lives, their careers are to tweet about Mario Christovsky, which that's not an appealing position. I don't want that for anybody. But what they do is they have organized lists. It's mostly from the diaspora, mostly from Australia, Toronto, some parts of Greece, not as much. Miami has a lot. Places that have good clusters of Greek population. Now, diaspora Greeks, and in general, diaspora members as a whole, tend to be much more nationalistic and fanatical. And because of that, they take to Twitter much, much more. Now, one of the accounts that is on Twitter, there was actually a newspaper article about this in the Balkan Insight. She goes by the name of Macedonia, and her technical name on Twitter we don't know, but she also goes by Pallas Athena, which is from the Iliad. Now, this woman, she claims to be living in Sweden. She has pretty poor English grammar. Whatever you tweet, she's gonna reply back with screenshots, maps, and carefully curated Greek sources to basically disprove you. And it can be about anything. It's not just you necessarily. It could be non-Macedonians talking about Macedonia. Greeks have to control the narrative. So they ran the analysis on our friend Macedonia. And she's probably going to be watching this. I know you're obsessed with me, man, but let's be real. That's kind of embarrassing. Let's take a look at the numbers here. We're going to go through some basic arithmetic here, which if anybody tuned into the virtual trivia night with us just a week ago, Philip is laughing because I said the word arithmetic, just because of some of the problems that we had here. But did some analysis here. So here's what we have. In 5 years, this woman has tweeted 478,000 tweets. That is an average of 96,000 tweets per year, 8,000 tweets a month, 1,991 tweets per week, 284 tweets every single day. No Christmas break, no Easter break, no New Year break. It is minute by minute, second by second. And she does have reach. She has over 5,000 followers on Twitter. And according to the analysis, she's been able to reach 9.7 million users through engagement, which is just a metric for how popular your tweets are, in 7 days. Based on the analysis on Twitter, we can determine a couple of things. First of all, she is a real person, but part of her Twitter account is actually automated, which is a fancy way of saying there are some fancy algorithms and equations out there to where if the word Macedonia is found on Twitter, a robot is going to tweet a response. You ever see how you could be saying, hey, I went to Macedonia, I had some really great salad. You're going to find a Greek talking to you about Alexander the Great and what it says on some coin. It has nothing to do with your tweet. Because a lot of times it's a bot that's doing it automatically. I oftentimes say, I mean, all their resources, I mean, you could be talking about Gotadilchev, and a Greek will come up to you on Twitter and say, well, you're talking about Gotadilchev, but look at this coin. It's in Greek. How can you be Macedonian? From 3,000 years ago, if it has anything to do about Gotadilchev. It's a signs that a lot of their accounts are automated. They have algorithms. You can pay for it. A lot of professional influencers on Twitter actually do this, so they don't have to tweet every minute of every day. So they do automate the process. And Kenny is one of them. There's many, many others just like her. If you don't believe me, go to my profile, look at any tweet I've ever tweeted. Go look at the replies. Look at how many Greeks are attacking me. They've tried to find my address. They try to find where I work. And anytime I tweet about anything, they will be there and they will try to, tweet something else. Now, as you know, of course, I don't engage them. Typically, I do have a rule. If, your IQ is roughly the same as the amount of followers you have, so roughly 85 followers per account, I'm just going to ignore you. So most of the time, I do ignore these accounts. I don't waste my time. They try to get you to waste your time, to goad you, to make you angry, just so you can spend hours and hours tweeting back and forth with them on Twitter. All of us have been there. I know what it's like, but do not fall for it. So that's what's happening on Twitter right now. Like I said, they're using a lot of fancy tactics, and they have a lot at their disposal, especially from the Greek diaspora. The Greek diaspora is absolutely instrumental in funding this, which gets us into our next couple of discussions here. I do want to talk about what are some successes that we have seen, as well as what are some of the next steps that we can take here to combat this virus, this cancer that is inflicting our people online. After all, this is the new battle for Macedonia. One second, as the name of our talk today does state. Back then used to be, battles with weapons, ammo, bombs, churches. Right now, it's shifted. It's all online. This is the new vanguard of our identity and our fight here. I'm going to tell you exactly what the overarching strategy is in just a minute here. So let's take a look at some of the successes here to give you a little bit of a positive boost. And I know we're not going to go full hour. That's fine. I do want to brainstorm, like I said. So first of all, to your delight, I have confirmed that Gingibi is permanently banned from the Macedonian language page on Wikipedia. Now, the Macedonian language page on Wikipedia is largely run by the Macedonian Academy of Sciences, the equivalent to the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. And for the most part, it's actually pretty good. I mean, as a historian, I do question a lot of the theories and historical interpretations Macedonia takes. Like I said, we may not be taught the correct way. It might be uncomfortable for us, but the truth is still on our side. We're not a Greek people. We're not a Bulgar people. We are slightly with Slavic admixture, but that's not the whole story, obviously. Macedonian language page on Wikipedia is actually pretty good. And it's quite long. There's a lot of detail on it. And what's actually really cool about it, in comparison to Bulgarian pages, the people that the Bulgars especially don't like Yana Sandansky, Their pages are about, a fourth the size of ours. The ones that we have, they're, pages and pages and pages. Go look on the Wikipedia Bulgarian page. By that I mean the Bulgarian language, about Glagolica, the script before Cyrillic. The Bulgars know there's no Glagolitic script ever found in Bulgaria because it was a local Macedonian phenomenon. If the Macedonians or Bulgarians are one people, it definitely would have spread across them. It is not found in Bulgaria. So what happens? They have two sentences on it in Wikipedia. They call it the Bulgarian language, but two sentences on their own Wikipedia. Shameful, absolutely shameful and comedic. But nonetheless, Jingibi is banned on our Wikipedia page. We got together and we did finally, as Macedonians, ban him from our own page. So there is an oasis. There is some salvage where we can actually read our history and get a decently unbiased view of it. And it's on the Wikipedia Macedonian pages. You can translate those, and we'll talk about some more strategies I want to do with those as well. But that's one of the bright sides here. And secondly, with everything that has happened, obviously, recently, there has been some progress made on Macedonia, the English language pages. Now, I'm going to show you what I mean here. I actually tweeted about this, so if you're not following me, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I'm just kidding, of course. Do follow me. I did tweet about this. Definitely some positive developments on the English language Wikipedia page. So one moment here while I pull it up here. As I said, Macedonians are basically treated as people that fell from the sky, and any mention of history and antiquity was the mention of the territory, not any people connected to it, which is very, very strange. No other page has that. So this is a page on Macedonian nationalism. It's actually pretty good. It does talk about how there was local, regional Macedonian identity happening since the early 1800s. This is from 1816, from Kilo Pejinovic. Here's the book on Alexander the Great, written in Greek letters, but in Macedonian. It says, Предсказание на Голем Alexander. This is from 1845. 1845. Here is a newspaper article from Petko Slovakov, who's a Bulgarian, published in Istanbul, where Petko says, as a Bulgarian, we have many times heard from the Macedonists that they're not Bulgarians, but rather Macedonians, descendants of ancient Macedonians. So as early as 1871, Bulgarians were noting that those crazy, Western Bulgarians weren't calling themselves Bulgarians. And they were confused by this, of course. Here we have a copy of the Veda Slovena, which actually has, it's a local folklore collection about the Macedonians. It actually has songs and folk stories from ancient times. Talks about Orpheus in there. Talks about stuff before the Slavic people ever came to Macedonia there. Pretty amazing. So then we have more documents talking about the Slavic Macedonian identity. We have maps here that do show Macedonians as a separate ethnic group. This is big because every Greek and Bulgarian will, of course, find their own map that shows Macedonians as, whatever they want them to be. I don't think it's going to open, but it is a page that does have the Macedonians as their own ethnic group, which is pretty remarkable. And it has a very balanced view. It does say we're kind of late to the game in terms of our national development, but it's on no grounds to actually deny us our identity, and actually showed really good evidence. And finally, on the language page, the English language page of Macedonians, there's finally, after years and years of pleading, finally a page on the genetic origins of the Macedonian people. Not a full page, it's a section. Bulgarians have their own page, Greeks have their own page. We have a section, better than nothing. What does the section say? Well, in a less convoluted way, that the proportion of Slavic ancestry in the modern Macedonian peoples is among the lowest of any Slavic group, mostly because of the larger proportion of pre-Roman, i.e. before the Slavs, pre-Roman population. They're basically saying, even though we're for all intents and purposes a Slavic group based on our culture and our language, genetically we have much more of a descent from the pre-Roman peoples of the Balkans, not the Slavic people. This is on the English language page. This happened relatively recently. Whenever I'm bored, I do check the Macedonian Wikipedia pages to see what's happening, and this happened within the past couple of months. So, pretty amazing. And finally, let's take a look at what other developments have happened. Like I said, it's all about visibility. When you type in Goldilocif on Wikipedia, on Google Images, this is a bit of a self-promotion. If you type in Goldilocif, do you know what the third search result is? An article written for UMD Voice by none other than myself. That is the third search result on Google Images. That is huge. Type in Goldilocif on YouTube. I'm gonna brag again. My video is the first video you're gonna see there. You type in Vasu Chocolatov. My video is the first video you're gonna see there. I'm not saying this in a braggadocious manner. I'm telling you how visibility works. When an American friend asks you, hey, who's that Goldilocif? He's gonna go to Google, he's gonna find our pages. So pretty remarkable there that our content is among the first results that are seen. So what do I wanna say about this? Well, a couple stages here. First of all, this should clearer than ever demonstrate to you we need to leverage all fields of discipline in order to combat this virus. So like I said, we need to leverage multiple disciplines in order to make this work. As you can see, there have been multiple elements of the strategy against Macedonians. It's not just historians. It's not just politicians. And finally, with regards to that, we have to look at other examples. Like I said, Israel is a very good example of this. Now, I'm not making any value judgment on Israel as a state. They have their own prerogative. What I am looking at is they're also heavily maligned by most media and media representations. So what they actually have is they do have a paid group of Wikipedia editors. They have entire courses on how to not only edit on Wikipedia that makes it more of a neutral stance, how to use the inner bureaucracy of Wikipedia to make it work. So they don't have the anti-Jewish Jingibi basically destroying and vandalizing their entire history. They have an entire group dedicated to this. Not only this, all across online, monitoring posts, looking for anti-Semitism, looking for strong biases. They have groups that are paid to do this. And that's absolutely something to look at and obviously imitate if that's a possibility for us. And finally, we do also have to bring out the very best in all of us. Like I said, content is everything. My videos, my articles, I don't think they're all that great, but there was a great response to them. They definitely did take off. And what's great about it now is I go to sleep every night knowing when somebody searches Goldilocif for Vasu Chocolatov, they get my results. They're not getting a Greek, they're not getting a Bulgarian. So what I'm telling you with this is, get good, start producing content. We need to tip the scales back into our favor. And start small. Mitchell will tell you, my first article wasn't all that big. It became better and better with writing. The best way to improve is methodically 1% every day. Start small, start somewhere. We need to get content out there. Not only affects our own visibility, but like I said, does tip the scales back into our direction. And finally, with all this, you have to understand, the Greeks and the Bulgarians, they know at this stage they have effectively lost. I know there's major concessions on the Macedonian side and a lot of victories against us, but take a look at it. When you type in Macedonian on Google Images, you get our people. You're not getting Greeks, you're not getting Bulgarians. Type in Macedonia anywhere, you're getting our country and our people. They know they have lost the battle a long time ago for them to strip of us our right to call ourselves Macedonians. Greeks tried to do this in the early 90s. They failed. One of the proposals was to basically have Macedonia not have the word Macedonia at all, and to even strip us of our ability to call ourselves that. And for most Greeks, they know this is a losing battle. So then they conceded saying, we don't care what they call themselves, we care what the rest of the world calls them. Now it's early to tell, but it looks like, we're still called Macedonians. They're upsetting usage of North Macedonians out there. That is a potential downfall of us, but they know they've lost the battle. We're going to be called Macedonia and Macedonians, even if it's not in documented legal form. Our average neighbors, in casual conversation online, they'll call us Macedonians. So what they're doing is, like I said, changing what other non-Macedonians, not Greeks, not Bulgarians, what they see. There's a lot of good, honest journalists out there They do call us North Macedonians because A, they haven't looked into it, but B, they see other references to it as well. And that's how our identity does get stripped. Minute by minute, second by second, it does compound over time, much like water and erosion. So we need to organize. We need to find our strengths. We need to leverage across multiple fields, understand the platforms inside and out, from Quora to Wikipedia to Twitter, imitate what's worth imitating, and realize we're all in this together. Our enemies are light years ahead of us in terms of some of the progress that they've made, but that comes from a fanatical and almost morbid obsession with something that's not theirs and never was. Macedonia is ours, and she always will be. Let's act like it. So with that, I do want to thank you again for your time. I do apologize about some of the disruptions here. I imagine there is probably some Greek in Australia monitoring my IP that's probably turning off my Wi-Fi. So it's probably what happened here. But do you want to open up the floor to any questions now? And any kind of strategy that we can talk about? You know exactly what's happened. You know what is up against us. How do we act? So let's open up the floor. Every single language page on Wikipedia has Goce Dilchev listed as a Bulgarian. Every single language page. It's the same people that do this. There are Bulgarians in Germany that do this. Very few list our history with a neutral view. Very few. Some will call them an Ottoman subject, which is obviously a little bit better because nationalities weren't all that great back then. It doesn't look good. Most pages do call us in a form Bulgarian. Aside from Wikipedia, for obvious reasons, what are some good online resources for reading? Found solace in historyofmacedonian.org when I was younger. That is a good question, Philip. Honestly, I'll go back to first figure out what your niche is. Don't be all over the place. Macedonian Wikipedia page, even if the articles are a little bit longer, the sources down below are pretty phenomenal. There's links there you can actually check out as well. Really good sources. I can, like I said, you can have a private conversation about this, but that is something I do want to bring up. Another thing I do think we need to do is I do think we need to slowly start translating Macedonian Wikipedia into English. If not for, putting it onto English Wikipedia for ourselves so we can actually read it. We won't have to go through Google Translate. It's actually mostly solid, mostly reputable. It's a start. We need to start translating that so we can actually read our own history. Maria's history talks on YouTube are pretty good too. Yeah, self-promotion there. They're pretty good. Which, thank you everybody. We did hit 800 subscribers. So if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. I do appreciate it. Is it best to revert to whatever, is a question from Robert. Is it best to revert whatever Jingibi does because whenever I do, it gets changed back? It's a rule of the consensus. It's almost automated. Whatever he does, you do change. He's going to accuse you of, having a bias. Going to change it back, and if you try to argue, you're just going to get banned. You make new accounts. Doesn't always work, but we do need to figure out a strategy. We need to get experts to understand Wikipedia, how it works, and how the bureaucracy is. There is no doubt in my mind, Jingibi does have Bulgarian money being paid to do this. No doubt in my mind. Thank you, Philip. That is the link down below in the chat for my history talks. Best resource to find info about Macedonians during the Greek Civil War. Honestly, I do recommend Macedonia and the Macedonians by Angel Rossos. I'll link it as well. We can put it in the chat. It's a good place to start off. There's other good resources as well. Fields of Wheat, Fields of Blood. I forgot the exact name. It's by a Greek historian. She actually did a really good account of it as well, and she was given death threats by her fellow people because she did that. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the chat as well. That's also a good resource. Greek Ministry of Defense. Well, if they are as advanced as we think they are, and we do have confirmed countries like Israel that are already using this as their MO, would not put it past the Greeks. Would not put it past the Greeks, especially the Diaspora. We're big money there. So I'm not putting it past having government money there. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can learn the history all you want. If we don't do anything with it, we're dead in the water. It's going to be a slow chipping away of our identity. And it's not going to be us. We're always going to call ourselves Macedonians. And I hope when you have children, you'll pass that on as well. But if, Jim or Linda or Karen, they don't know about Macedonia and they go to Google and they see North Macedonians, they see Bulgarians, they're going to be viewed differently. And over generations, it's going to affect it. You're going to notice it. So definitely need to strategize with that. Every discipline has to be part of the same common cause for Macedonia. Every single discipline. The definitely something to think about, guys. Don't make this a one and done deal. This is going to be with us for a while. We have to get together. That's all I can say. We have to own up to Macedonia. There's others more dedicated, more obsessed than we are, and it's quite frankly, it's disgusting. So let's get together. Let's keep up the momentum. I'm always your resource, but you're gonna find other ones as well. United, we are strong. So let's get rid of this virus that's on our people. Folks, I'm gonna hand it over back to our wonderful hosts now. They'll be able to kind of wrap this up, and we'll go from there. Okay. So appreciate your time, everybody. It's been a pleasure as always. If we don't know each other, let's send me a message. Like I said, time is against us. We cannot wait. Let's connect.
Thank you so much, Maria. You really gave us the insight we needed on Wikipedia, and I guess now it's up to us to take it to the next level and create more Macedonian content on Wikipedia and the web in general. I'll repeat what I said earlier. We're pleased to announce tonight that we have a bonus virtual hour with Mario on the life of Goce Delchev on Wednesday, May 6th. And on Thursday, May 7th, Balkan Insider will host a fireside chat with UMD President Meto Koloski at 1 p.m. US Eastern Time. We've provided links for both in the chat. UMD and Generation M have been busy during the COVID-19 pandemic. We are planning out our May and June schedule of virtual events, including another fun Macedonian trivia night, so stay tuned for our announcements on social media and via email. That should be exciting. If you've been enjoying our virtual events, please consider supporting UMD by donating via our website, umdiaspora.org, or on our Facebook page. Links are included again in the chat. And on behalf of UMD and our Young Leaders Program Generation M, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy. Good night, or have a great day in Australia.